Hi, this is the Arrow Beyond podcast. I'm David. This is
And
Jonathan.
how's it going?
Um, so first off, we're a Christian podcast. We talked about it last time. And we're just trying to be bold for Christ and talk about a variety of different subjects. So before we get into anything, how has your week been, Jonathan?
So far, so good. Work's been great. I work up at a place where we're a ministry. I'm not gonna name names just for security purposes, but
No, that's a good idea.
yeah. But we've been working. I have a background in computers and stuff, so we've been working in the tech department a lot this week. It's been wonderful there. Ministry wise, things are going pretty good. I got to study a little bit into Ephesians on Sunday morning with my youth group. We're diving deep.
Nice.
It's been great. Ephesians is my favorite book of the Bible, so it's been wonderful to kind of deep dive with them. So
Oh, that's good to know.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. What I love about it is Paul wrote the letter to a church that was on fire for God. He was trying to help them keep the faith, um, especially in an area that was surrounded by paganism, a lot of different false gods. I don't want to get this wrong. It was either the temple to Athena or Athens or something like that. Don't know my mythology well enough, but there was a big temple there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of demonic activity. So he taught on how to keep the faith and also a lot on spiritual warfare, which we need as Christians. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the book of Ephesians just equips you all around on how to be a good Christian and how to spread the name of Jesus. So that's why I love it so much and I love teaching from it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, how has your week been?
Very, very good. It was good. It was good. Looking up Um, looking at some the job wise, everything's seems to be going pretty good because I teach, and hopefully that will be a full time thing
Ooh,
before long.
that's fun.
So teach, yeah, yeah. So money isn't everything, but money is still something. So I do
You do
need,
need
do need
money.
I do need money.
Like you
Um,
want to be like, oh yeah, I don't need money. I just need God. But then your stomach's like, no, dog. You need money.
yeah, I've always tell people you cannot pay me enough money to do something that I don't want to do. Like money does not have that type of hold on me. Like people have different weaknesses. Money is not a weakness for me,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean I'm an idiot and I'm just gonna be like I don't need
Right,
money.
right, right.
Like I'm not gonna look at my boss and be like I'll do this for free.
Yeah, like you need
That's
you need income.
yeah,
But I mean,
yeah,
it's biblical, right? Think about it.
yeah. Oh
Jesus was
yeah,
a carpenter. Paul was a tent maker. Peter was a fisherman. You need to make some kind of income. There is no
yeah. Not
way to.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, not everybody goes into full ministry.
no.
A lot of people go do a part-time job
Mhm.
and stuff in addition to ministry. And some people do ministry without getting paid anything,
Right.
which is what a lot of people do. Um, and then church-wise, everything's going good. Young adults ministry is going good. We recently
Awesome.
had an apologetics session, presuppositional apologetics, which I think we'll kind of talk about when we get to like morality and stuff, kind of what that is probably. Um, but basically, it's like the underlying beliefs and stuff that we have about reality in the world and stuff. So
Right.
it was really interesting to have somebody with a degree talk about that sort of thing. And we did have a few people from another church show up
That's really cool.
and try to mingle. So we're trying to connect with the churches around the area and stuff, and it's good.
That's good.
It's been pretty good.
I'm glad.
So nothing crazy. I have been trying to play Hollow Knight though.
Dude,
That stressed me
I
out.
really, really need to get back into it. Since our last recording, I picked
It's a
up.
good game.
Do you remember the game Spider-Man: Web of Shadows?
Yes, that's a
Dude,
good
it's
game.
such a good game, right?
That's a good
So
game.
I've only played it on the Wii before, and that game was
It's brutal.
it's so tough, right? Because you gotta do the motion
Yeah,
control junk.
yeah.
So
I never got past Luke Cage
yes, exactly.
because I literally did it right, and it said that I wasn't doing it right. I'm like,
Like, how
you're a
am I not
liar.
moving the stick the way you want me to? Ah!
Didn't do it. It was.
so
I hated that. I
so
hated I could never get past that.
yeah. So I actually got past it because I'm gonna try not to name names. But do
Yeah,
you remember like my childhood best friend?
think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He's the one who sold it to me. I couldn't get past the section, and the dude was an absolute legend at any game Spider-Man. He just shows up
Yeah.
one afternoon, beats that level. He's like, "Here you go." That's the only way I was able to get past that mission. It was because he took the sticks from me and did it. So, anyways, I have it on the PS3 now, and it's actually
Okay.
playable. So that's been fun.
Man, that's awesome. I really didn't want to finish that game. That one was good. There was another one where you could play as Spider-Man Noir. 2099. I
Shattered
forget which one.
Dimensions.
That's what it was.
Hmm.
That was a good game too.
Great game.
I,
Never
I
played
liked
it.
that one.
There were Shattered Dimensions, and the sequel to that was Edge of Time, where you
Yep.
played as both Peter Parker and Miguel O'Hara, and Peter
Mhm,
Parker
but
is
the
supposed to
voice
die
actors-
that day. Go ahead.
I think you put the voice actor switch
Did
for
they?
some reason in that one.
That would be funny.
Yeah, yeah. Like one of the characters that played one of the Spider-Man played the other one,
Oh,
which is
interesting.
weird.
See, one of my favorite Spider-Man games is Friend or Foe. Did you ever play that one?
Yes, but I played the DS version.
Okay,
I-
I played the PS2
I was
version
limited.
and the
Okay.
PSP version. The PSP version had Electro. It was super cool. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked.
Oh, you're fine.
What cracked me up was Josh Keaton, who voiced Spider-Man in the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show,
Yes.
was currently the Spider-Man at the time. Everyone was, or I wasn't old enough to remember if people thought he would get it, but James Arnold Taylor got Spider-Man in that game. He got to play Spider-Man. The guy who voices Ratchet and some other characters. He was also Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars.
Really?
So,
Oh, I
yeah.
know who you're talking
You know
about.
exactly
He's
who I'm
so
talking
cool.
about. He's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
he's so cool.
So you hear it in James Arnold Taylor's Spider-Man. You're like, okay. And then the new Goblin shows up, who is Harry Osborn, is voiced by Josh Keaton. I'm like, what the crap is going on here?
Oh man, I've getting more and more into voice acting.
Mhm.
Not like me doing it, but
Oh, I'd love
learning
to do
about
it.
voice acting is pretty fun. To
Dude,
see how the people scattered and not even know that they're there.
some
2 years
people that
later.
are just phenomenal at it. You got like Troy Baker. You've got, oh man, why is his name slipping my mind? Ezio.
Nolan North?
Nolan North's
Oh.
great too. He's in everything. But
Who are you talking about?
You know exactly
He
what I'm
played
talking about.
Sonic. Craig?
Son-
Roger Craig Smith?
Roger Craig Smith, that's it. He was in that new Spider-Man TV show. I don't know if you watched it.
Which character did he play?
He was one of the thugs that was like, I think he's going to become Scorpion or something like that.
Oh.
Whichever one was.
That
No,
would be
the one who had
crazy.
speed powers. I apologize.
Okay, I was gonna say
Yeah.
he played Scorpion. That guy
no,
was
it wasn't
killed.
Scorpion.
Spoilers, by the way.
Oh,
It's good-
oops. Yeah.
But yeah, whatever.
Spider-Man
good
almost
show.
died. It was crazy.
Oh man, it's
Ah!
over. No season 2.
Dude, I'd love
Um,
to have just an episode where we discuss that show because it was a mind bender.
Yeah. In fact, just to talk about that type of stuff is pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
S-
We need to somehow incorporate it.
We
into
do.
it.
Speaking of fun,
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
got I got a little segue here. I took my moment. I've got some Bible trivia for you. Dun dun
Uh-oh.
dun.
My worst fear.
I know. Let's see if a Bible teacher knows Bible trivia questions. Okay, here we are.
That's why I don't call myself a Bible teacher, so nobody will
right.
nobody will be able to make fun of me.
Oh no, here we go. I've got questions for you.
Oh boy, I got
What
to get the
is
answers.
the first book of the Bible?
I
I know. It's a
want to
tough
say Job canonically. I'm just kidding. Genesis, right?
correct, but I like where you were thinking. That one is very controversial and fun. First written
Yeah.
book, sure. I'll give you Job. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was wondering. Is this a trick question?
Right. Which chronologically, it does kind of mess with your mind, does it not?
It does.
Because if that was the first book written, then how did Moses? We're gonna get into a lot of different.
Well, hey, maybe there's a lot of rabbit holes to jump through.
There's a ton, and we need to stay on topic.
Yeah.
Let's see. Which book did Jesus directly write?
Revelation?
Jesus.
I don't know.
What book did Jesus?
The Bible? What do you mean?
He wrote none of them. He wrote none of
say
the books
Jesus-
directly.
if-
They were all
I was like-
inspired.
Yeah, I was saying they're all like from the perspective of other people, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what kind of
It
question?
was a trick question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
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 What is the
And
longest
by the
book
way,
in the
I am
Bible?
not. I'm not. By the way, I'm not teaching modalism. I was joking. Jesus and the Holy Spirit are not the same. They're both God, but they're both distinct. Okay.
I love how we have
Anyways,
to do that because people will be like, "Wait a minute, he's teaching."
it's like Holy Spirit inspired, Jesus inspired. That's the same thing.
Oh boy,
Well, anyways, yeah, I just wanted to clear that up.
fair
What was
enough.
the question?
What is the longest book in the Bible?
I wanted. I want to say Psalms
You
or
are
Isaiah.
correct. Well,
S-
Psalms, you got it.
Psalms.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because Isaiah is pretty long too.
True or false? David wrote the entire book of Psalms.
False.
Who also wrote them? Give me some names.
It was like some brothers. I forget their names.
hmm
Solomon, I think.
I think he wrote at
Um,
least one of them.
yeah, and then there's some that aren't named
Mm-hmm.
specifically, but there's one that was like, no, the Sons of Thunder is just like the disciples,
Yeah, the sons of
the
Zebedee.
two brothers. But there was like two guys in there. I can't remember, man.
It's okay.
It's been a while since I went through the entire book of Psalms a while back, and I can't remember what their names are, but I know that there's some other guys that wrote it for
hmm
sure.
Did you know, if I'm not mistaken, if I go back and I'm completely wrong, I do apologize for future audiences. I think Moses wrote one of them.
I don't know.
I remember sitting in on a sermon where we studied the one Psalm of Moses. But,
I don't even know that. I've never even. I don't
there's
remember.
so many.
That would be so interesting if there was, because I don't.
Best I remember, it was just a brief little psalm. It was more of a song kind of thing. Because, he
Uh-huh.
was very much an intellectual.
Oh yeah. I have to go back and find that because that would be such an interesting, like, just fact to drop on somebody if that was true.
It would be. If I remember correctly, I'll try and fact check that for the next episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, update. Jonathan was
Update.
right.
Or Jonathan was morbidly wrong and he needs to apologize and repent.
We need to make a whole video of you just repenting.
Just starts out like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry.
You got to do the deep sigh, like,
I gotta like sprinkle some
something.
water in my eyes to make it look like I was crying."
I'm
Jonathan
deeply sorry about what I've
apologizes.
done. I will strive to do better in the
Right.
future.
Here's an obscure one. Second to last question I'll ask. Now, I'll be
Okay.
very impressed if you get this. Who rode in the Bible? And I'll give you, it's the Old Testament. Who rode on
Okay.
a talking donkey?
It's gonna. The immediate name that came to mind is completely wrong. I wanted to say is like some dumb name. Like, and I was almost said something else, and I almost actually said Nabil Quresh.
What?
He's a Muslim that that converted to Christianity. So no, that's not it.
No, he didn't ride a talking donkey. As far
No, he
as I
did
know.
not. I want to say. I feel like I know it, but I can't think of the name. What is it?
Balaam. He was a prophet,
Balaam.
if I remember correctly. He was sent. He was trying to send a message to the Israelites. He was
think so.
he was a corrupt dude. Well, there was an angel in his pathway, and he wasn't paying attention to the road, so the donkey kept trying to get him to stop. So he'd like bash his ankle into a wall or something. The man would slap the donkey and would keep going. Finally, the angel just stood in the path of the donkey and drew a sword so the donkey wouldn't move any further. And the Balaam kept beating his donkey. He's like, "What are you doing?" And the donkey's like, "Are you too blind to see that there is an angel ready to kill you right in front of me?" One of my favorite Bible stories ever, and it's all true.
Yeah.
It's all in the book.
It's super cool. That maybe that's why I thought of Nabil, Balaam, Nabil. It kind of reminds me
Maybe.
of it, and just the way my mind works with like syllables and sounds. I'm thinking that's why that came to mind, but I would not have gotten that. It's been a while since I've read that.
No, it's all good. It was one of the most obscure stories I heard growing up. So the more
Yeah.
obscure ones really stuck with me. Like the king that he was so fat that when they stabbed him, they lost a sword in him. You know what I'm talking about? Or
Yeah,
like, was it the
yeah,
prophet Elijah? Kids were making fun of him being bald, so a bear threw
I think
hands with the
so.
kids.
Yeah, like three she bears.
Yeah.
There's one of my favorite ones that I bring up is Ezekiel when he's laying. I think I've already told you this. Ezekiel
Briefly,
when
but
he's
go
laying on
ahead.
his side. He's laying on his side for a certain amount of days. He's laying on the other side for a certain amount of days to kind of signify the siege of Jerusalem or whatever, or the siege of Israel's city
Hmm.
or whatever. And so he's doing all these weird stuff, and then God's like, okay, I'm gonna send you stuff to eat, and you're gonna have to cook it using your own poop. And he's like, no, Lord, please. And he's like,
Not the
okay,
poo.
I will send you animal poop instead, and you can use that to cook over with your food with. And I just thought about how great God's grace and mercy are every day that
That
He
we
spares us from
from
the little
eating
things.
animal poop. You know.
Well, I don't think he would have eaten it, but I guess it was insanitary and disgusting the idea of using his own poop
Mm.
to cook.
It's probably something to
So then
burn,
he,
right?
yeah, like, because you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to be smelling your own excrement and stuff. Anyways, it's such a weird thing to do. Such a weird thing that I point out and I say, God's mercy is sometimes unrecognizable, but at least to Ezekiel, it was a big deal. So
Right.
maybe we just need to take a step back and be grateful for the things God gives us.
Great little reminder that we don't have to eat our own poop, and God has given away not to.
Just now, to be fair, I'm just gonna be just to clarify, Ezekiel didn't have to eat any poo.
Yeah, I'm just
I hope you,
joking. It
okay, I hope nobody's like looks back and like wants to. No, God did not tell him to eat anybody's poo. That would be even worse, but that would be funny. Uh, alternate reality maybe,
mm,
but
yeah, no. What do you say
uh,
we do one more question, then we move on?
yeah, that sounds good. I need to have some questions for you next time.
You do.
Yeah. What's Jesus's last name?
Of Nazareth.
That's good. Most people say Christ. Like, no, no, no. That's, that's actually a good answer because that's their equivalent. That's
Right?
actually pretty good.
It would. If I'm getting my history correct, it possibly would have been like Bar Joseph, but he wasn't really Joseph's son. So, you
Hmm.
know.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, people think the last name thing that was actually pretty spot on. That's how they would do that.
Mm,
Like, I think what's the most common name? Simon,
mm,
I think. One of the most common names. So they have like Simon the leper, Simon the tanner,
mm-hmm.
Simon the apostle, or
Mm.
the disciple of
Or,
Jesus.
or, or Peter, in the words of Jesus. You know, because Simon
Yeah,
was too basic of a name at times. I,
yeah.
other than like he was gonna be the foundation of the church leaders, right? Do we know why he called him Peter? Because I was just joking before.
It's something to do with like the Greek versus the Hebrew names,
Okay.
but I don't know the exact reason. There's probably a really good reason. My just spitball guess
Mm-hmm.
might actually be to distinguish him from everybody else.
And that's kind of why I
And
would almost guess that, because obviously Jesus knew this was going to be documented and recorded. But
right,
it's
I'm
just a
actually
theory.
curious
Go for it.
because another idea that I was thinking, Peter, uh, um, it was the Greek equivalent, I guess. So the Hebrew name was Simon, and Jesus called him Peter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it the other way around? I don't remember.
He called him Peter.
So it's weird. I was gonna say maybe there was something deeper about connecting him with his Hebrew versus Greek um lineage, but I honestly that'd be interesting to do a deep dive, but I
I'd love
don't
to
know.
do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, you got one last question.
Let's see. Which human author wrote most books? Wrote the most books. I apologize. It's weird how they
Oh,
word
wrote
that.
the
Which
most
human
books.
author? I think all the authors in the
Yeah,
Bible were human.
as according to the dogs and
Right. Did some
the
cat
monkeys.
just, they're like, you know what?
He ran across the keyboard and created the book of the Bible that we know as Nagilnivith.
First Thessalonians.
I think it's Paul though, right?
It's Paul.
He's the one that,
Do you know who
yeah.
wrote the most words in the Bible?
I want to say, I want to
According to
say,
this.
okay. I think it would be David, wouldn't it?
According to this, it's Moses.
That makes sense. I'm trying to think of how much because the Psalms are so big. I didn't know if it would like
But they weren't all
outweigh.
David, and I think that's the catch. That
That's
and
true.
most of David's
True.
recordings weren't written down by him, right? It was some other author. Where Moses
Maybe
wrote Genesis, he wrote Exodus,
Exodus,
probably Leviticus
Leviticus,
and Numbers, if I had to
Numbers,
remember.
Deuteronomy,
I say probably because I
possibly.
don't want to say it with absolute fact and just fall flat on my face.
Yeah, but
But
he does die in that book, so maybe.
he does. Someone had to be. Then probably Joshua wrote some.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I was debating between the two, but for some reason, I just felt like maybe David, just for whatever reason, just wrote way so many musical poems and stuff that he's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense. Moses was like he was the alpha uh law writer, you
Yeah.
know.
Such a great role model too.
Yeah.
Except for them times where he wasn't, but he was
Yeah,
human.
that's how it is.
But that's why he couldn't be the ultimate leader, right? Um, every single person in the Old Testament that reflects Jesus, and what I mean by that is really echoes and points towards him. You got Moses, one of the greatest law upholders ever, one of God's greatest servants, but he fell flat. He had an anger issue, right? He killed a guy at one point. David, who was after God's own heart, was an adulterer and a murderer. He killed Uriah or had him killed. He didn't necessarily do it with his own hands, but he had the man killed. You know what I mean? You look at all
Oh
these
yeah.
different people, and they all fall short of being perfect, except for Jesus, because he was God and he was there to fulfill everything.
Hmm.
Point I'm trying to make is we can try our best to live up to that standard, but on our own, we just can't. So.
Yep, definitely contrast and symbolism. I think I've heard somebody talk about the contrast, like the intentional contrast between Abraham's faith and Moses and the law.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even see there's contrast there as early on as that, and how his righteousness, the righteousness of Abraham, was credited to him by his faith in God, versus the law and Moses and the whole fiasco of trying to get people to follow the law. Like the point was being made all the way back in Genesis
Yep.
that it's impossible to be perfect. I think that's the whole point, obviously, of the law. But
And that was the point of
that,
the covenant that he made too, where we
hmm
were gonna fall short, and we'll get into that much more later. That's something I really want to touch on is the covenant between God and Abraham, where Abraham
oh
didn't
yeah,
walk between the halves of the sacrifices because he wouldn't be able to uphold his end of it, but God did it himself because he knew he would be the only one who could uphold the end of that arrangement. So,
yeah, that's good. That's a good point to make.
yeah. With that, would you like to get started?
Oh yes,
All right.
Sir Jonathan, could you start us off with some prayer?
Absolutely. One of my most favorite things in the world to do. All right, let's
That's
go to
good.
the Lord in prayer. Dear God, I just want to thank you for this time me and David have to just come together and talk about you and share you to as many people as we can. Lord, bless the remainder of this time we have to just enjoy doing what we're doing. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. So we last time we talked a little bit about just like the universe.
Right.
So we talked about origin and purpose, kind of like God's overall design, and the fact that we're here at all shows us that God has a purpose and a plan for us. I think you and I talked back and forth and kind of bounced off of that while kind of establishing the purpose and the reason for why we're doing what we're doing. And so there was other stuff that we wanted to talk about, but I feel like just to do it justice, we stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're kind of go into some of the bits of science. So science is something that I've been fascinated in, although I am not a scientist or a professional in any field of science. But the fact
What?
is that a lot of the times you hear people talk about science, they always treat it as if it's counter to religion,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. You probably heard that quite a bit.
Oh, sure. All the time, people are like, "Well, I don't believe in religion or supernatural stuff. I believe in science." And I'm just sitting there sometimes, like, can they not coexist? But
Yeah.
I know you're going to get into that, so.
Yeah. I think, and this is just a hot take that is not really it shouldn't be a hot take, but it is because people like to think of themselves as not religious,
Mm-hmm.
not into all of that supernatural what, gumbo jumbo, whatever you want to call
Mumbo
it.
jumbo.
Gumbo jumbo,
Gum.
gumbo jumbo.
We got that gumbo jumbo.
Yeah, gumbo jumbo. The but they want to view themselves as like higher and better than that.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes a religion, right? Is it the set of beliefs, concrete beliefs that you put your faith and total trust in? Like if we defined religion, I mean that's something that if you were to actually look at people who are really devoted to science the way that they are, you'd find that it starts to look like religion, but they're not going to tell you that.
No.
So that's a kind of a danger that a lot of people have in that field where they say that it's almost like they're trying to be better than other people, but in reality, everybody comes to a conclusion. You have to have a set of beliefs,
Right.
even if you deny it.
I think what it comes down to is at some point, this mentality has occurred where if you're religious, you're unintelligent.
Hmm.
And if you're
That's true.
scientifically minded, you are intelligent. Therefore, like you said, it becomes a almost science religion. But we're smart, so it's not supernatural mumbo jumbo and all this. We believe in hard facts and not faith, or something along those
Hmm.
lines.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think it started with what the Age of Enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
where as we're discovering more and more things about the world and how it works, people start to shift away from the feeling or that we need uh, religion or any faith in those things other than science. So science, the first thing that we need to just get out of the way is that a lot of times people talk about science says this and science says that, but really, science doesn't say anything. And people will be like, "What does that mean? What are you saying?" Obviously, that's a lie, but no, that's true. Science doesn't tell us anything. Science isn't speaking and proclaiming anything. We are using science to discover reality, and we are the ones that interpret that.
Mm.
So scientists are the ones who interpret science. Science doesn't say anything, scientists are the ones that say things. So when we're talking about when people are saying that science proves everything, that's not that's not really how that works. People can come to different conclusions with the data that they have, with the research and the studies, and that's why you have people who look at creation and some will say, "Oh, this is evolution and there is no God." And then some people will say that we're created, obviously it's design. And then there's some people in the middle that will say, "Well, there is a God, but I still think that evolution is viable." And you have all these different people. I'm not saying that somebody can't be a Christian and believe in evolution, obviously. I may disagree with that person,
Right.
but that's the beauty of science is that you can interpret that data. The problem is that doesn't keep that data from pointing to a more probable conclusion,
I
if
agree.
that makes sense.
Yeah. I had a very interesting conversation during the week with someone who fully believes is a Christian. Um, but they also believe the Big Bang occurred.
Hmm.
Now, granted, it was someone who was still in school, and I got to have a really good conversation with them where I was asking, okay, so you believe in creation, and you also believe in the Big Bang. Let's try and work through this a little bit. So we got to break it down, and I hope I made some good points. So I was not trying to make this person feel bad at all, but They were talking about how the universe is constantly expanding and causing like drift
Hmm.
to happen, like the moon leaving us. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, according to the Big Bang. I'm like, oh. So let's dive into that. It kind of like what we talked about last week, where at some point it had to come from something. And I was able to
Yes.
make the point, okay,
Yeah.
so we either going to believe in this extraterrestrial thing that created this stuff, or we're going to believe in God. And I choose to believe in God. Not trying to rehash what we talked about, just mentioning I think it was very interesting that that's the conversation we had last week. And it kind
Yeah.
of came up after we talked about that and recorded everything. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's this idea that there are some Christians out there that think both sides can exist equally. We can disagree. I do find that take very interesting, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, evolution itself is a little different. I think the Big Bang, I've heard some I've heard some pretty interesting and believable things because it depends on what you mean by Big Bang. Like,
Mm.
what are you actually talking
Oh, I
about? Like,
100% think there was probably some kind of explosive power that happened when we spoke the universe into existence.
oh yeah, I think that a lot of Christians, myself included, I think that that makes sense
Mm-hmm.
to say that there's enough evidence that like Albert Einstein saying that the universe came from a single point.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that suddenly the universe just randomly expanded. Like there has to have something had to have just said, God said, let there just spoke it and it just happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? I
Right.
think that that's still probable because he created a natural world.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense for all of that to happen. I think there's enough evidence to say one way, but you don't have to make that conclusion, right? To be a
Right.
Christian. I don't even know if we necessarily agree on that or not. We could probably talk about that later on. I don't know.
No, I think I'm with you there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never really asked you about that, to be honest. But yeah, it all depends on what people mean because we could say two different things, and then the definitions of those things could be completely different.
Mm.
Um, so it's really you got to be careful with conversations with people, honestly.
And that's the thing. You've always got to be careful and loving, especially to someone who's
Mhm.
an unbeliever, because you don't want to miss an opportunity to keep witnessing. You don't want to lose your witness, as I constantly say. So sometimes it can be difficult.
It's like Ken Ham. Have you
Mm-hmm.
heard of Ken Ham?
Yeah,
He can sometimes be really aggressive
he
with
can be
people when they don't agree with him, and I think that although he's a smart guy,
for sure.
I definitely wouldn't want to be aggressive with somebody that I'm talking to because my main focus should not be on whether we agree on the Big Bang.
Right, like
Right.
that
It
whole
should,
debate he had with what was it, Bill Nye?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, okay, but
Yeah.
really, no one's gonna win anyone to either side by just arguing.
Right. Whether it's true or not, the point is, um, you could even say like even if you were to believe in evolution, how can you believe that people evolved without some sort of guiding force? I mean, to me, like if you were to, I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm just saying
Mm.
like following that logic, things don't just come together naturally.
No, there's
They fall
there's
apart.
there's a framework.
Hmm.
Um, I think it was Ken Ham who kind of talked about it. If might have been a butterfly, a moth, or even certain beetles, if any kind of cell changes at any point during either a molting stage or whatever they call it, their metamorphosis into whatever's the next step of life, where a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. If anything changes during that process, too much or too little, the animal is dead. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. In fact, we could actually let's save that and talk about that because we are going to talk about DNA,
Ooh,
and that would be
DNA,
interesting.
fun times.
Yeah. So let's just talk about a few things
Okay.
about that. So the first thing that's always kind of interested me, and I mentioned it to you earlier, so you probably have insight on this, but cells in themselves. Sorry, that just
Try
sounded
saying
weird
that
coming out.
20 times fast.
Nah, not going to. um, cells are one of the most amazing things to me. Science is a massive topic, by the way. So there's a lot of different things that you could go into. Evolution and design is just versus design is just one specific thing, but
Mm-hmm.
focusing on design itself. Um, we have to ask the question, we have the information, right? How do we interpret it? So one thing, that how do we interpret things is cells. So when looking at it, a lot of things that people will say, specifically with atheists who or naturalists, will say that we evolved and the things we have evolved, but it comes to be a problem with the cell. Charles Darwin believed that evolution made sense because there would have to be a simple organism to come into existence.
Mm-hmm.
Because he even knew that something complex could not just happen. Um, so he said that the single-celled organism at the time would be the most simple organism, and therefore that is where life began. And now we know that this is the opposite. Now we know that cells are the complete opposite of simple. They're the absolute not simple.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they are there's a term called irreducible complexity. So irreducible complexity means that all the parts have to work together, like a mousetrap, basically.
Mm-hmm.
If you take one part, it ceases to function.
Right.
So a theory with the cells that people had after Darwin, when we discovered how complex they were, was maybe over time cells began to develop these parts and started to mutate. The problem is that doesn't work because if a cell lacks the parts that it has, it ceases to live.
Right.
It ceases to exist. So if that's the case, a cell can't mutate over time or else it'll die like instantly. There's no like risk or chance. If it doesn't have its parts, it ceases to function as a cell. And then we would all be dead. So it's kind of impossible for that to happen. So now we're at a standstill. What do we do with this information? Where did this cell come from?
Mm-hmm.
And we have trillions of these. We have lots of cells. I don't know if the trillion is the exact word. Yeah, like 37 trillion cells.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So now people are looking at these cells, and we've done it several times, as we've talked about before. Uh, outside of this, talked
Right.
about the how people use the cell as inspiration because
Mm-hmm.
it works so efficiently compared to even the modern things we have today. It's such a beautiful illustration of just like a generator. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's working hand in hand, and this is in nature. Nobody created it according to someone who doesn't believe in God. But the
Right.
problem is, how could something like this happen at all?
At some point, you've got to question where. At what point do you stop believing in chance and do you start believing in design? That's the whole
Hmm.
thing I think you and I are both arguing for. Is okay, do you want to believe that this happened by chance? This super complex thing that we try and replicate, do you want to believe it happened by chance or do you want to believe that there was divine intervention and creation there? There's grand design. Kind of like you talked about where we spoke on a little bit outside of this. Little background into me if you're not familiar. I studied computers in college. I worked in a tech department for a long time. One of my biggest hobbies is computers. Something that is incredible to me, and it's not quite a cell, but it does tie in. If you look at the human body, for instance, and all the nervous systems that are in it, cells, how the brain functions, how your bones function, tendons, all that. If you look at it, you can start to see, okay, this nerve and channel is connected to the brain this way and connected to the brain this way. And if this didn't function this way, it wouldn't work. You start to realize, interesting, it looks kind of like a motherboard. And if you're not familiar with what a motherboard is, it's what makes computers go. Um, Us in the tech department, especially me who's a Christian, I'm a Bible teacher, I'm a youth minister, all that. When I see that and I'm working on it, I'm like, we're trying to replicate God's grand design here. We do a very, I don't want to say poor job of imitation, but in comparison, it's not great. But based off of what we see there, we can do some pretty cool stuff. So looking at what God can do, like you and I are human beings made in the image of God that can function off of water and food, right? We don't need any kind of electricity to plug into us. Our brain's already got a little bit of electricity in it. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
We are self sustaining beings that were created that can function. Um, it's just incredible to me, right? I just can't see how this is an accident. And if my
Yeah.
words, if I'm sounding a loss for words, it's just there are some times when I'm trying to explain something that is so incredible that was designed by God, and I just get lost in awe, you know, where God has such a eloquent design on everything, and we even try to imitate it, and our imitation is nothing compared to what He can do. Like you were talking about with the
Yeah.
cells, it is down to as simplistic as it gets. If you remove any portion of it, it ceases to exist, you know, or it dies off. We're made of trillions of them. God knew exactly what He was doing with us when He was weaving that all together. Like your DNA helix, that thing is incredible, right? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to take away any points here.
Oh no. In fact, if you want to, we want to go into DNA because that's
I don't know a ton about it, but what I do know is your
yeah.
DNA is unique. Unless you've got a twin, from what I understand. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you're.
and each cell has that too. So
Mm-hmm,
like of all the trillions of cells, they all have that DNA.
mm-hmm.
Several like strands upon strands of DNA. It's crazy.
You are beautifully and wonderfully made in the eyes of God. There is nothing more precious in this world to Him than humans. And you can see that the design is so perfectly imitated there because we are made in the image of Him. We are image bearers. According to Genesis, something I got to talk about with the kids on Wednesday night. Just God spoke everything into existence, except human beings. We were molded with His own hands, and He breathed life
Yeah.
into us. That complexity where He actually took and molded and took the time to do that and breathed into life. Of course, human beings are one of the most, if not the most complex creation out there, or being out there, right? You look at the animal kingdom, right? The closest thing to humans on a functioning level, like a mental capacity, would be like an ape, right?
Hmm.
They're fairly intelligent. Some people would argue they're just not talking so they don't have to pay taxes, but you know, the point I'm trying to make here is
They're
they're
the
about
smart ones, huh?
they're about as smart as you can get as an animal. They can't
Yeah.
talk. They don't have the same kind of motor function we do. There is something different, and people argue, well, we just evolved from monkeys or apes or whatever they are, or something along those lines. At some point, we were that, and I cannot get behind that. You know, there is too much evidence pointing towards this was on purpose instead of
Intentionality. Yeah.
intentionality is there. I feel like now I know this is probably going to jump the gun a little bit, and we can back up and we can.
Oh,
But
go ahead.
people constantly say science and religion cannot coexist. But I genuinely believe, my personal conviction is science points to a creator. You
Yeah.
follow the evidence, there are plenty of Christian scientists that will point you the same way. Instead of saying, oh, look what the universe made. Look what happened because, you know, X, Y, and Z mixed at this right time. Look what God did. Look how awesomely He created everything.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and it made me think of something.
Okay.
Um, there's a channel called Inspiring Philosophy. He's one of those people that we talked about that actually thinks that evolution and Christianity can coexist. Even still, he's a really smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a lot of great work with Christian on Christian social media and YouTube and stuff like that. He's been a very strong voice, and more specifically against Islam in the past I guess year. But one thing that he has really honed in on, and you can look up, anybody listening can look up some of his stuff, is that he does tend to lean towards and is working actually on an official video to sum up all of the years upon years of research and arguments, is that without Christianity, we would not have science as we have it today.
Interesting. I don't know if I've heard
Yeah,
this
like
point.
because he goes on to explain that the reason that people during this time before the Enlightenment, before people thought that they were better than religion, the reason that people practiced science, the reason that people dived into creation was because they knew that when they dived in there, they expected there to be design. They expected there to be something to find. They wanted to understand the creation and that God has given us. So the thing that drove a lot of the most popular scientists that we have, they were Christians who desired to know more about their creator through creation. And so without these fathers of science and without the desire to seek God through what he's created, we would not have science the way that we have it now.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have gone as fast as it was. I know that's a little bit off topic, but it reminded me of that. And he's working on a video. I'll kind of try to keep tabs on it so that one day when we do an episode that maybe maybe we could, I'll watch it and then see whether it's something good that we can promote. But I'm excited to see it because he's been working on it for a while now.
Yeah.
So that's something interesting that you reminded me of. Let's actually talk about DNA.
Okay.
Because
do it.
yeah, because DNA is the second part of this. So we have cells who are complex, and you can't break them down. They're so complex that we're taking notes from these things, and this is in nature. So obviously, science is not so good that it does better than what's already existed for years upon years, thousands of years, millions of years, however you want to see it, right? A long time. But in each cell is DNA. So each cell has strands of DNA that make up who we are. So it makes up proteins and things. So our skin color, our hair color, everything that we're able to do. And my DNA is the reason why I'm not 6'1", and I'm still upset about that. But it's just what it is.
You can't
My
just
DNA
go in there and change it.
No, you can't. You can't do a whole Star Trek thing and I saw a scene from I think Star Trek was like, "What color of eyes do you want your baby?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
What?
That sounds
like something they're trying to do in California.
Yeah, that sounds a little freaky. But our DNA makes us who we are. My DNA makes me me.
Right.
There's nothing that will make me Jonathan or make me anybody else. And like you said, they're all unique and individual. In fact, Bill Gates, one of his most famous quotes that I've seen that a lot of Christian apologists will point to, because he's telling the truth. He says human DNA is like a computer program, but far, far more advanced than any software created. It's not just something random in your body. It is a literal code that we have that makes us who we are.
And that was something I was going to mention. DNA is very similar to code. Like you said, it's what makes you you. That's why you're not a 6'4" dude. That's why you'll never be able to dunk on people in basketball. But you can't go in and fix the code. That code was specifically written for you. God knew that David was going to exist. This is exactly how David was going to turn out.
5'1" David.
Not quite that bad.
Not that bad.
How tall are you? Because I'm a little bit taller than you.
My license says 5'4". I don't know why, but I'm 5
There's
foot.
No way.
I'm not 5'4", but that's my license for some reason. I'm 5'8.5", I think.
Okay, all right.
Somewhere around there.
So I think I'm around.
I like to say 5'9".
Around 5'9", 5'10". But on my license it says 5'11". So funny story. This is a little sidetrack. I go in after we moved from Arizona. I go into the DMV or the MVD or whatever they call them these days. And the guy's like, "How tall are you?" I'm like, "I think I'm like 5'9", 5'10". And my dad was just in there and he got his. He's like, "Well, your dad just came in and said the same thing." He's like, "You're obviously taller than him, so you're 5'11". I'm like, okay.
That's so funny.
So it says on
unfair.
it. So if I get pulled over, they're like, "Why ain't you 5'11"? I'm like, "I don't know."
They're just gonna measure. They're gonna look at me and be like, "You're not 5'4". What the heck is?
Did you get a growth spurt?
No, I don't understand. Why did the lady hate me so much? I don't understand.
Dude, sometimes they just a little grumpy. They need Jesus.
That's a petty way to get back at somebody for having a bad day, making me shorter than I already am.
If only
That's crazy.
imagine a movie or TV show where like you could edit someone's DNA to change them like that. You know what? You get to be short now.
It sounds like a reverse Flash type of thing.
Oh, it
It's like
really
Barry,
does.
I ruined your life, Barry.
I
I
went
made you
back in
fight for
time.
free.
You got a little dwarf Barry running around. It was me, Barry. I went back in time because I hated you, and you lost
Now
like
I'm
7 inches of height.
I'm
Now,
taller than you, Barry. I'm better
now
than
I'm
you.
the fastest man and the tallest man.
Now Iris will definitely want me because she wants tall guys. You're just a short, wimpy guy. And by the way, he is actually the shortest guy in the Justice League. Like if you watch the animated show, he's short.
Is this
So
Barry Allen
now
or Wally West?
I think it's Wally West.
Okay, now,
But now I've just got headcanon. I think that
yeah, there's a short
they happen.
Barry Allen out there, just stumping around, waddling like he's speed waddling, because he ain't got no legs no more. He just got feet. Just
I would
looks like
how
a
would
minion.
how would a speedster little person work?
I hate to
Would
say
they just
it.
be a normal fast, like a normal speed?
They probably would, or yeah.
Uh, maybe above average.
Honestly, it might be more beneficial because you could like slide through crevices and stuff. You'd have a
That
tactical
would be
advantage. You know what I'm
that
saying?
would be crazy.
Yeah. Someone needs to make this a short speedster.
Yes, I want to see how that works.
I should incorporate it with that book I've been writing.
Yes,
Yes.
you should. I would be so funny, but I don't know if you get canceled for that. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's someone who like they were born short and they got powers, and now they can use their height as an advantage. Kind of like a BB-8 situation where no one really saw him coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or like
I don't even
Princess
mean that to
Leia.
make fun of. Just could be a good advantage.
It reminds me of the Princess Leia chase scene
Mm-hmm.
from Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That
Do
was
you
a
remember
pretty good
that?
chase scene. Yeah. I didn't mind. Listen here. She was a great actress. She does not
Great,
deserve the hate she
great.
got.
No, she did not deserve the hate. I actually loved the way she played Leia.
Mm-hmm.
That scene was pathetic, and I'm not. That was just pathetic. Like the guy goes to grab her. She's literally like there's a tree branch like not even knee high. He looks at it. Oh man, I can't get her now, and she just runs away. It was kind of cheesy, but the
Sure.
show was good. I feel like that people hated on it way too much.
There were parts I
We're
didn't
getting
really
off
care for.
track.
Yeah, DNA,
But
DNA.
DNA, DNA. So DNA, Star Wars is great too, though. DNA is over 3 billion characters long. So any one of those little things goes wrong, it has drastic changes. It's not
Mhm.
just like if I move things around, I get taller. That actually doesn't work that way. If I
No.
move something around, I could just die,
Yeah, it's
right?
not like
Like,
the Spider-Man movie where they change a portion of his DNA helix. Nah, he dropped
yeah,
dead.
yeah, no, like you don't take blue and red and mix it together to make Spider-Man. That's not how that
That
works.
makes Dead Man.
It makes a dead man. It makes compost is what it makes. But there's over 3 billion characters. So in order for you to be those 3 billion characters have to be in order
Mhm.
and have to be put in such a way to do that. And it fills as much info as 1,000 Encyclopedia Britannicas. I forget how to say that word.
You would know much better than me. I was on the tech side, not the.
Hey, I read in my head, but then when I say it out loud,
Yeah, this is a problem, isn't it?
yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. But if you talk to yourself, you're crazy. So what am I supposed to do? I don't know.
Crazy.
I'm just. I
I...
was crazy, man. I was in a rat of rubber rooms.
Whoa!
Anyways,
The rats be eating you, dog.
so the point of it though is there's so many characters, there's so much
Mm.
complexity, and so much. There's so little room for chance and error that for anybody to say that this just spontaneously happened. We've already talked about the cell, but this is within the cell. Goes even further. You have to have this DNA in each cell, each of these trillions of cells, 37 trillion cells, in order for your body to function. So the DNA has to be in order. Can't mutate like you see in like the X-Men or Fallout. You die,
Mm.
right? or
Because
you have
what?
severe health issues.
Because like real cellular mutation would more than likely result in cancer.
Right. And that's like at a in a DNA level, it's even worse.
Right.
But like with cells, yes, cells are also need to be healthy. So you're talking about like microscopic stuff like DNA has to be perfect. And then the cell itself also has to be to run properly. Otherwise, we would not be here. If it was all chance, there'd be like nobody alive
Mm-hmm.
at that point. Um,
Because at some point, your specimen that's supposed to keep trying and trying and trying is going to die off. It's not like a. I'm going to make a pretty cool callback, or at least in my opinion, I'm a huge nerd. Do you remember The Amazing Spider Man 1?
yes.
You remember how they.
It's a little fuzzy.
A little fuzzy, but you remember they were trying to find a way to regrow limbs and really fix cellular decay or repair cells that were no longer there. That's really what the premise of the
Yeah.
lizard formula was. And they were trying to fix Freddy the lab rat. Don't ask me why I remember the name. But they're going over different trials of where, like, thousands and thousands of times on the simulator, the rat's dying because they're trying to mutate the cells in some way, and it just doesn't end well. You just get attempting, failure, attempting, failure, attempting, failure. If that was real, what I'm trying to get at is, let's say evolution or this just spawned from nowhere, right? If we're playing by the rules of this all came by chance, there would have to have been trial and error until this became perfect. You kind of see what I'm getting at?
Mhm.
How many
Yeah.
times would that have had to happen in order for life to exist like it is? And how many explosions would have had to happen for life to start and then die and start and die until something perfectly lined up causes all of this to self sustain on its own?
Yeah.
You
And
kind of
that's
see what I'm
weird.
trying to get at?
Yeah. That it's crazy to think because it's not like a bottle flip,
No.
right? You're talking about 3 billion characters moving in such a way to create life.
So how many different cells did you say there were? Trillions?
Uh, 37 trillion,
So 37 trillion.
give or
So
take.
let's think through this, right? 37 trillion is a ginormous number. But then within it there's
Yeah.
DNA, right? You're tracking with me, I think.
Yeah.
All those cells have to function correctly. All that DNA has to function correctly. And that's just the baseline of life, right? Before life even can occur, all these things have to line up, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I hope you, to the audience, I hope what I'm trying to say is making sense. To believe this happened by chance is bold. I think that's the best way to put it, you know? To say this just randomly happened. At some point, the trial and error worked, and life sustained itself. There was 32 trillion?
37.
37. Man, I
It,
cannot get
it's
the.
it
I got the
it's a
30.
yeah, it's like 30 something. I actually saw a few different numbers, so it kind of can
It's in the
depend, I
30s.
think. It's in the 30s.
All
Yeah.
these cells had to start flowing correct. Hope that's gonna make for some horrible audio. They gotta
I didn't hear
function
anything.
together. You know what I mean? They gotta start
Yeah.
flowing and working together. They get in sync, and that's just, excuse me, hiccups. That's the cells. Everything's gotta be in sequence. Everything's gotta be perfect. That's nearly impossible. I take that back. Without divine intervention, that is impossible.
Yes. That I would agree. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And that's also a good point to make is that this is the ground, this is like bare level stuff. Before you can have like an animal that evolves and then its ancestors begin to develop more things, you have to have working DNA. If you don't have working DNA, everything's dead.
And to add on to that, something I just thought of, right? If you believe in evolution, I'm not saying you, I'm saying people who might be
Yeah.
listening to this. Are you living with the assumption that cells are constantly changing? And if that's the case, instead of evolving into something new, wouldn't the animal or the human just die? Do you see what I'm getting at? If a cell
Yeah.
has to have these perfect conditions to survive, and they're constantly your DNA's changing, cells are constantly changing. One little hiccup and boom, Gary's dead. Gary the alligator has just died because his body didn't evolve correctly. You see what I'm
And
saying?
he ain't having no kids.
No, he
He like
is
that's it.
not. No,
So yeah.
Gary.
No little Gary Juniors.
That should be our
No.
mascot, Gary the alligator.
You want me to bring out the Rocktopus? I'm
The
just
Rocktopus. Bring it. Bring on the
all right.
Rocktopus.
The Rocktopus.
Potential
Look at this.
mascot. We'll figure it out.
Can you smell what the Rock is cooking? A stinky movie. Okay. And is there anything else that you want to add to that? Because I feel like that's an interesting topic to just go
I
on and
think I
on
made
with.
the points I wanted to. Just, I urge you, the listeners, to just think about it. For everything to exist the way it does, it's really hard for it to happen by chance. I'd say darn near impossible.
Yeah.
Like I was sharing. Okay, the cells have to be perfect, just at the base level of life. But then, if cells are constantly changing and evolving, wherever you want to put it, that would cause fatality more so than anything else. I think. Right? We don't
Yeah.
see human beings just dropping dead because their cells changed out of nowhere. There's normally a good reason why someone has passed away, or an animal. You tracking with me? So that's where I land on that.
Yeah. I would agree. I think it's good to look at more information about it too, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the more that you research stuff instead of listening to people, and this is the kind of, I guess I shouldn't jump ahead too far ahead, but science again doesn't tell you anything. So it's good to look at the evidence for it, because there is a good chance that while looking at this evidence and just being intellectually honest, you'll come to a conclusion that it's more faith to assume that it all came by chance than it would be to say all of this has been built and created. I'm not going to look at my Series X and say that after 20 some years of wanting a console, it finally evolved on my desk.
Mm-hmm.
I paid money for that thing and somebody built it. And
Right.
I'm not going to be so dumb to, and I shouldn't say dumb, I'm not going to be so gullible to believe that because
Naive
someone
might be the
told me.
better way to put that.
Maybe naive because some people just don't want it to be true that
Mm-hmm.
that there is a designer, because then you have to figure out, well, who that designer is, and that's a scary thing. But if we're being intellectually honest with ourselves and with reality, it's hard to ignore that everything just happens to perfectly align in such a way that things work as they should, as if there's a standard, as if there's a placement of how everything has been
Mm-hmm.
put. I think that's where I land on. Is just you kind of have, you eventually, if you're honest, will come to that conclusion. I
Right.
believe that there's some sort of purpose to everything.
No, I agree. There, it becomes harder, and like you said, takes more faith to not believe in a creator than it does to believe in a creator. And now, that's the baby steps you have to take at some point if that's where you're coming from. Okay, now I
Yeah.
believe in a creator, but who is the creator? Because there's a lot of options in the world. But we will get into
Oh,
that in the future.
I think that yeah, we could definitely get into that. So just to go back to science,
Mm-hmm.
right? Science is a worldview that people have. I believe it's a worldview because unlike a Christian who will say that God is sovereign and everything is in the palm of his hand, he's in control, a scientist will say that science is a constant that we can base all of reality on and understand all of reality with.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that, and this kind of just flows into the last point that I have in the notes at least, is that science oftentimes is seen as the answer to all things. And but the controversial truth is that science can't prove everything. Science is not the answer to everything. There's a famous recording. I would encourage you to watch it. This is really where I got this from. There's actually more things that can be said about it, but I'm not an expert on these things. But there is a guy named Dr. William Lane Craig. I don't know if you've heard of him before.
The name rings a
Um,
bell.
he's a philosopher and Christian apologist,
Okay.
scientist. He's a smart guy. He's actually one of the top Christian apologists there is. Um, so he was in a debate with an atheist, and so him and the atheist were talking and debating each other, and the atheist said that everything can be provable by science, and William Lane Craig said no, actually, there's not, and he said, well, what are they? He said, well, I'll just list five, and he just off the top of his head listed them, and so I will list them here.
Okay.
I encourage you to do more research on them. Some of them I'm more certain of than others, but you can see the points that he's making. So the first thing that cannot be proven by science is logic and math. So those are things that have to be presupposed, right? In order to do science, you have to have those things presupposed, like the laws of logic, like the law of non-contradiction. So you can't do anything without following the laws of logic, and therefore science can't prove those things.
Okay.
Those are presupposed. You have any?
No, help me understand, just in case someone's not
Yeah.
familiar, including me. No, I have heard them. It's just been a minute. You know what I mean? And I'm sure once you start
Yes.
talking, I'm gonna be with you. But
You mean for like specifically with logic
laws of
or
logic and Mathematica, how the point you're trying to make is they can't exist without, or science can't back them up,
right?
is what you're saying, right?
Well, science can't exist without them.
Right, but it's
So
not there to prove them.
right, you can't use science to prove something that science depends on,
Okay.
if that makes sense. It's just like with the
No,
last
I
episode we
understand
talked about.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like the universe came into existence using the chemicals that the universe created.
Right.
That's a contradiction. We can't. It brings circular reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing with logic and mathematics, in order to do science, you have to presuppose mathematics to exist,
Mm-hmm.
and science cannot operate without that.
It
If
can't
that makes
prove
sense.
something that exists to help it prove something. What is what I
Right.
hear you
Then it
saying?
would it would be circular reasoning, an
Right.
infinite loop of craziness. So that's the first thing. Logic and mathematics cannot be proven by science because science would have to use those things to prove it, if that makes sense.
No, I understand.
Um, then we have metaphysical truths. So some people don't believe in this stuff. They'll say that the world is completely natural, that everything is just chemicals going off. But we focus on metaphysical truths all the time. So the idea of, for instance, me believing that the room behind me is still exists while my back is turned, that is a metaphysical truth that I have to trust. In order to even exist in reality,
Mhm.
there's a level of trust that I have to have in the world around me. Like the ability that the trust that I myself actually exist and that Jonathan exists outside of my own mind. Like these are things that there's some things that science can't prove because these are
Right.
things that are not of the natural world. These are things that are metaphysical.
Yeah.
Some would even use the term supernatural because they're outside of the natural world, but I think that maybe we reserve that for forces and stuff that are outside
Right.
of
I'm with
the
you.
natural world. Yeah. So, um, and the third thing, which we will get into, I think we could get into a whole separate topic, is ethical beliefs, like morality.
Hmm.
Science does not tell us why to do things. Science tells us how to build an atomic bomb. It does not tell us when to drop it and why we shouldn't or should.
And why you
Right?
feel a certain way if you do something right or if you do something
Yeah.
wrong.
hmm Yep.
It
So
goes back to
science is
that
gonna do that.
morality that we're going to touch on.
Yeah. Which I'm excited about that.
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. But yeah, without getting too much into it, science does not tell us how to do things in terms of why, of purpose.
Hmm.
Does tells us how to do things, but it doesn't tell us why to do things.
Yeah.
So we discover the world around us, but the reason science cannot replace things like philosophy is because we can know how to start a fire, we can know how to do a job, but we also are doing things for a reason. We start a fire so that we can live.
Hmm.
We work a job so that we can earn money and support our families. There's whys that science doesn't really give us the answers for. We have to assume those things or interpret it with those things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The fourth one I'm not as sure with, but I kind of know what he was talking about. Aesthetic judgments, so like beauty, things like that. Those aren't really provable by science.
Hmm.
Um, And then there's some things, maybe chemicals that you could point to, but overall, the idea of it is not really a consistent scientific thing. And then science itself.
Yeah. And if I can make a little note here, from
Yeah.
really what I'm seeing a pattern here is science can't prove emotion or mental status. You see what I'm saying? Like that mental health, a whole different thing. But what I'm trying to talk about is your thoughts, your feelings. Obviously, not talking about senses like that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Like how something resonates with you, kind of like how you're talking about how, okay, the room behind me, I know it exists because I've been through it. But in this very moment, without getting up and moving from my chair, I have no way to prove that there isn't just a void behind me. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. You have to have some level of common sense, I
Right.
would say, because that's what it is. You have innate trust in the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Some people lack those things, and you can see people really struggle in reality because they doubt everything.
Right.
And it's not a natural, normal thing to do. Uh, but there was something that you said that reminded me of something. Oh, like the mind, like thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a whole debate against uh versus the mind versus the brain. Like
Yeah.
a whole difference between that. It's really interesting. I could lend you a little. It's like a small, like little book. It kind of talks about that, but
Yeah.
the some people argue that there is no such thing as a mind and everything is chemicals. But there's studies and things that show there is a difference between our brain and our mind because our thoughts actually can change the physical patterns of our brain,
Sure.
and just like the other way around. It's really interesting stuff.
Just like it. I guess the best way to put it as a Christian, I know that we have a body, we have a mind, and we have a soul, right? Just all these things that kind of resonate together. And the mind and soul are the parts that science really has a hard time explaining. Like
Yeah.
how, just going off of what I believe, I'm not going to try and go both angles because I still don't fully understand how someone thinks we wouldn't have a soul. If you're tracking with me there.
Yeah.
But my my inside voice, if you know what I mean, like the voice I have inside my head, like when I'm thinking, talking to myself. I don't want to sound crazy, but I hope you know what I mean by that. Do you have that head voice when you're thinking or reading?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Because like for me,
I
it's
do.
my own voice. That might
Yeah.
sound crazy.
Yeah.
It might reveal some things about me, but what I'm trying to get at is no one can prove that exists or doesn't exist except me. There's no one who could go into my brain and be like, "Oh yeah, we can hear the voice in there." You know what I
That's
mean?
true. That's true.
But yeah,
But yeah, no, that would be an interesting topic in itself, but it gets really, really like I don't know, it gets really heavy with with information.
yeah, and it's hard to
And I
really
feel like
stand on something you can't fully. I don't want to say prove, but explain.
yeah. So yeah. But again, I've read a few people talk about that sort of thing, and it's really interesting. I just don't have enough information that I know and understand it fully enough to discuss it, unfortunately.
No, I got you.
Um, but the last point, I don't know if I said it or not, but the last point, the fifth thing that William Lane Craig mentions is science cannot prove itself because proving itself is simply impossible and would be running in a circle.
Yeah,
So science in itself, saying that science proves everything is a contradiction because science cannot prove itself. That would be ridiculous. That's just like saying, "Trust me, bro. I totally didn't steal money from you."
when you're missing
It's like
$10.
they missing $10 and you have video evidence of him doing it, but you say, "But I said that I didn't do it, and therefore, since I was the only one in the room when it happened, I'm the only one that can believe that you can trust."
Right.
Right? Like the mechanic breaking my car, and then the guy saying, "Well, if the mechanic broke your car, he would have put it in the notes." No, he would not. No, he would not.
Right.
Um, Science cannot prove itself.
Right.
So we need philosophy. We need to be able to interpret science. Not just listen to people who claim to speak for science, but to interpret the science ourselves. If anything, science, like you said, is a tool to help understand our world, and it points us to God rather than away from God,
Mm-hmm.
because we need this why. We need to know how to interpret this information, and that will lead us to God. I
Right.
believe that wholeheartedly, like you said. earlier.
Yeah, it
So,
it echoes and points to him. I beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know there is a God who created us. You can see that through the air we breathe, through the different plants and animals that are right out these stores, which I can't prove to you exist. But the point I'm trying to get at is there's divine creation all around us. You can choose to believe what you want. It is a free country. But I choose to believe that there is a God because there is undeniable evidence of Him out there, right in front of us, even in our own bodies. The fact that we're able to breathe and think and see and all these different things aren't by chance. And that's what echoes towards Him. My I was saved at a very early age, and I never really wrestled with the idea of God or how He could exist or if He existed. So sometimes I do have sympathy for people who wrestle with that, because I'm sure your story a lot like mine. You grew up in church, you were around it all the time. The struggle of believing that God is real and create everything. It's not very hard for people like you and I. But for those who are
right.
seeking the answers, I have a heart for you. And I want you to reach out to people you know, or even us if there's comment sections or whatever. We want to help. We want you to. We're not trying to shove down your throat what we believe. We're trying to make good points. Not trying to make anyone feel bad for what they believe. But if you have questions, we are more than happy to have discussions, or I'm sure there's people in your life that are willing to have discussions with you. This is the whole point. The whole point of this
Mm-hmm.
is to spread the word about God, dive deeper into the world around us, at least these first few episodes, and really spark conversations. If we can have conversations, civil conversations about God, or about anything in general, what a much more beautiful world we'd have. Instead of saying, because this person doesn't agree with me in this particular way, they're my enemy. Why don't we say, even though we don't agree, we can still have a relationship together, either friendship or whatever it may be.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
I think that's the point we're trying to get across here. And
Yeah.
we've been questioned on some of these things we've talked about today, and we don't claim to be scientists by any means, but the knowledge that you can get a hold of at your fingertips that tries to prove things, I feel like proves that there is an existence of a creator. So
Yeah.
that's
I
my two
think that
cents.
if you, yeah, that's solid. That's solid, really summary of it. I think that that'd be really a good note to just say, hey, that the point of this is not to tell you what to think, or but to tell you necessarily how to properly think
Mm-hmm.
on your own. If you think that anything that we've said or that we've talked about is wrong, on a fundamental level, obviously, if instead of 37 trillion, it actually is 32 trillion, big whoop.
Right.
Okay, that doesn't change the point of all of this. If you disagree with it, look it up for yourself and prove us wrong. But I guarantee you, if you actually in your heart desire the truth, like scripture says, I believe it's either Psalm 140, maybe 145, where if you seek God genuinely, you'll discover him. You'll find him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to find it to be petty or just to prove people wrong for the sake of being right, or just to prove people wrong just so you don't have to answer to God, that's not the way that you want to go about it.
No.
I encourage you to seek the truth.
Yeah.
If it's true, are you going to follow it? That's the decision that you need to make.
That's a good
But
one.
yeah, it's a very important decision, but it's not about just trying to be right. It's about who are you, right? Right. What's your purpose in life? Is there a God that really created you and loves you? And if that's true, do you want to just look deeper into that? Because some people will admit that, yeah, this makes a lot of sense, but I don't want to follow him.
Right.
I don't want to get to know the God that created me. So the decision that you need to make that science cannot do for you is, do you want to trust and put your faith in a God who created you and loves you and has a purpose for you. And that's the decision that I can't make for anybody. Jonathan can't make for anybody except for my own life.
Yep.
So
100%. Well spoken.
yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to add. I mean, I feel like you summed it up pretty well
I appreciate
as well,
that.
like
And
with the notes.
your points were excellent. So I think
Yes,
this
good
is
sir.
I think this has been a good discussion. We covered the topic we wanted to, and I just want to say we stayed fairly on topic this time. I'm very proud of us.
I'm very impressed. Like
I am too.
if I got off or you got off, we would just pull each other back.
Right.
So
We're doing good. I hope
yeah,
that I'm sure in the future if we continue to do this, which Lord willing, I hope we will. We're gonna look back at it and be like, those dummies, like they didn't know what they were doing. But I would hope we get better and better with each one, which I think we've seen
yeah,
here. Now, I do have a question for you. Should we give it a little sneak peek on what our next episode will be?
maybe.
Maybe. Perhaps.
What kind of sneak peek are you talking about?
Well, the best there is. You
I'll
know
be
what I
right
mean?
back.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey,
So
yours
we're
looks
gonna
better than mine does.
just slightly until
Oh,
you really realize that this should pop out a little bit more, but it is what it is. So next
yeah,
week, or next episode, I should say. I don't know
yeah, that'll be better.
what the timeline will be between these. We're gonna do a little Halloween episode, and what I mean by that is we're gonna be discussing, people's thoughts on Halloween. Some people believe it's satanic and demonic. Some people believe it's perfectly fine. Some Christians even believe that. We're also gonna be ranking Halloween candies. So we're gonna take common ones like candy corn, fun size Snickers, Skittles, all the good stuff. We are going to be
All
ranking. Go ahead.
candy corn
Candy.
is not good stuff, is it?
No, it's not. I was just trying
I
to
was gonna
give
say
candy corn
that's not a
people hope.
spoiler alert
No,
to
it
do
will
that.
be F tier. I promise you, it will
Yeah.
be at the very bottom.
Should we even put it up there?
Yes, we should. So what we're
Okay.
gonna do is it won't be live. It'll be like a live taste test. We're both gonna get the same kind of candy. We're gonna eat it, and you're gonna hear us chewing on camera and on the microphone, and we're going to be enjoying Halloween candy, and we're gonna tell you if it's good candy or if it's sucky candy. You know how it goes. So.
Yeah. Now I will be honest. I'm not probably gonna wear this mask
Oh, I'm not
because
wearing
I
the
can't,
mask either. I'm gonna start with the mask. Like, dude, this thing
and then
is
take it
already
off.
cooking me.
Yeah. I can't hear you. I have it at full max volume because this mask doesn't let me wear the headphones.
Yeah, that's a lot of padding, dog. Do you want to say who you're
You know,
trying to be, just in case some people
yeah,
are?
I am the guy from the Thunderbolts movie. I think is what people will know him most from, the U.S. agent. So
Yeah,
yes, I am the scummy Captain America, but he's pretty cool.
and I'm Batman. No, I'm kidding.
I'm Hugh Jackman.
Right. Well, thank you
Uh,
guys for tuning in. Was there anything else you wanted to add before I close this?
nope. Other than I'm gonna take this mask off after we get done. I think it was a good discussion, and I look forward to eating candy and developing diabetes.
It will be the candy part. Great. The diabetes I can heal from.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You guys
All
have
right.
a very blessed day, and we will catch you in the next one.